On this episode of Shareable Science Beyond the Blog, a new type of testing. What's the highest risk setting to get infected? And are you cleaning your house the right way? This session is chock-a-block full of science, so stay tuned. Welcome to Shareable Science. Science you can share. There are three key stories that I want to bring you in this episode. The first is that the FDA has recently approved a brand new type of test called an antigen test to detect the presence of the virus that causes COVID-19. Now, this is the third category of tests. The first two we've talked pretty extensively about. A molecular test that actually looks for the presence of the virus's genome. Those were the first kinds of tests that came online. An antibody test, which actually looks to see if your body has created an immune response against the virus. So a molecular test says, are you currently infected? An antibody test says, have you been infected in the past? An antigen test looks for bits and pieces of the virus in a nasal swab or a throat swab. So it also says, are you infected now? The key is that this test can be done in about 15 minutes. It's quick. It's similar to the rapid strep or the rapid flu test that you might have in your doctor's office. And there's another benefit. It can be done directly in the doctor's office rather than having to send the sample off to a lab. The challenge is that these antigen tests can be inaccurate, which means a negative result may not necessarily mean you are truly negative. So these are going to begin to come online. They certainly have some benefits. They've also got some drawbacks. I just want you to be aware of that. Let's shift gears now. We're beginning to accumulate a lot of data that gives us a hint as to which types of settings are higher risk for transmitting the virus than others. This data is really beautifully summarized in a Twitter thread, for those of you that are on Twitter, by Muge Sivik. And I've given you her Twitter address over here on the left-hand side. And she did that on the 4th of May, if you want to dig into each of the papers. I'm showing you a quick summary. And here's the key point. The highest risk comes when we are in settings that provide close and prolonged contact. Things like, I live in the same house with you, or I am riding public transit for a long period of time with you, or I've gone to a family gathering, maybe a family reunion or a celebration, or I've just gotten together for a dinner and we are together in relatively close spaces for a number of hours for an extended period of time. And then being together in a crowded space, like going to a concert or going to a crowded restaurant or bar or a worship service where there's a whole lot of people elbow to elbow for an hour or more. So, and close range conversations. Being elbow to elbow with your best friend, having a long conversation, catching up with each other. All of those are high risk conversations, high risk settings. These things indoors are a higher risk than outdoors because when you're outdoors, there's a dilution factor. If somebody is infected, the virus spreads more broadly into the outdoor air as opposed to inside. So you really want to avoid close, prolonged contacts and conversations, especially inside. The data also suggests that susceptibility increases as we get older. So children may be less susceptible to becoming infected. And the early data suggests that they are probably not the main drivers of how this infection is spread across populations. And then the third story, really quickly, has to do with the way that we are cleaning and disinfecting our surfaces. Many of us may spray a cleaner on a surface and then come right behind it with a towel or a rag or a cleaning cloth and wipe it down. Some data suggests that we are not leaving the cleaner on the surfaces long enough to do their job. So if you want to dig into that a little bit more and compare how you're cleaning Take a look at this Have I Been Cleaning All Wrong from the New York Times. It's not behind a paywall, so anybody can access it, from May 6, 2020. It may change the way you think about how you clean your house as you try to disinfect. So that's it. That's a lot of content in a relatively short period of time. If you find this is worth sharing, please do. Please pass it on to family and friends. Thank you for watching. I look forward to seeing you next time. Stay safe, everyone.